This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
If you're a seeker, don't miss the inspiring book Shamanic Awakening, Between the Dark and the Daylight. This remarkable work chronicles shamanic counselor and indigenously trained dream decoder Sandra Cochran's 35 years of experience with diverse wisdom keepers throughout the Americas. Sandy's initiations across the British Isles, Turkey, Greece, and Egypt, combined with her knowledge of symbology, psychology, and myth, influence her dream blog and workshops. Sandy offers private readings, sacred international journeys, a meditative CD, and her book, Shamanic Awakening, to encourage you as you navigate your earth walk and create a deeper connection to yourself. Find this and more at her website, starwalkervisions.com.
Good evening, friends, and welcome back to Paranormal Stakeout. I'm your host, Larry Lawson, coming to you from the mothership of paranormal programming at the X-Zone Broadcast Network. You know, folks, it's my goal, my mission here on Paranormal Stakeout, to provide you with guests and commentary that will not only challenge your views on the paranormal, but on life itself. Here, we champion research and the search for intellectual truths in our quest to prove beyond a reasonable doubt the existence of worlds beyond our own. To do that, I look for those investigators and researchers who are in the field, on the line, conducting these investigations and gathering the evidence needed to prove our case. And tonight, to help us towards that goal, we have MaryJo Fister, co-founder of Off the Trails Paranormal Investigations of Port St. Lucie, Florida. Off the Trails Paranormal Investigations is an 8-member team with a psychic medium and a psychic living elsewhere but still part of the team. As a group, they've been together for about 8 years investigating. MaryJo, the co-leader, co-founder, EVP specialist, and caseworker, is a retired social studies teacher with a lifelong interest in the paranormal. She's had experiences throughout her life, her first being as a young child in a room where 2 violent crimes occurred. She also enjoys the historical aspect of the activity, along with Greg Bush, the co-leader and co-founder of the group, who's a retired financial advisor and golf professional. With that, MaryJo, welcome to the show.
Hi, Larry. Thank you. It's great to be on your show.
You know, it's interesting because it seems like most of the investigators I end up teaming with or working with anymore seem to be ex-cops, current cops, or educators, and you fit that bill perfectly, MaryJo.
Well, we are a pretty great group together.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with the searching for those answers and the history, those types of things. Like to know a little bit, MaryJo. Tell me and the audience how you got started in the field of paranormal research and investigation.
Well, like you mentioned, I've always been interested in it, and different times through my life, I've had experiences. As a real young child, maybe 3, in my grandparents' home, there was a bedroom that I would go into, and there was just something that wasn't right about the room, and it scared me, but I would go up there anyway to prove to myself that I wasn't going to be scared. And it wasn't until many years later that I found out that in that room, my grandmother and an uncle had been shot, and my uncle died.
Oh, my.
My grandmother recovered, and at the time, I didn't even know I had that uncle. He was just never mentioned again in the family.
Did your family ever discuss that? Obviously, they didn't discuss it with you beforehand, but what about after the event? Did you say anything to them? Did they explain to you what happened?
No, they never would discuss it.
I guess that's the way it was back in those days. Those things were just never seemed to be discussed at all.
Right.
So that pretty much molded your interest. How old were you when this happened?
Probably 3.
Okay.
I was very young, right. And of course, my parents told me it was my imagination. Things like that didn't exist. And after a while, of course, you start to kind of believe that.
Mm-hmm. When did your mind change? When did you start realizing there may actually be something out there that is beyond your imagination?
Well, I think really always I did. It was kind of a struggle. I thought that there was, but your parents tell you that there isn't. And as I got older, I just believed in it more and more. And in my 20s, I bought a house, and Angel, as you know, is my daughter, and she was just a toddler at the time. And there was a ghost in the house, and she and I both interacted with him.
Mm-hmm. When did you start investigating formally, shall we say? You've had these experiences, but when did you really start investigating the paranormal?
Well, not counting my little foray in high school when we had to figure out why the tombstone was lighting up. Greg and I started about 8 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And,
as a group, was it just you two? Did you find other people that had an interest? How'd you come together?
Well, it was Greg and I and our son, Bo, together. And then we began to take on some other people. Angel joined the group, too. And other people joined. We found a medium standing in line at Party City once, and she worked with us for a while. And now we have Terry Reed, who's our psychic medium. She's really kind of branching out with a lot of other groups, so I can't claim her exclusively, but she will be at the Para-Unity via Skype to talk about what she does.
Okay. And we'll talk more about Para-Unity later on in the show, which is a very exciting event that's coming our way. I do want folks to know that your website is www.facebook.com/Off the Paranormal Investigations / I would like everybody to visit that website. It's got all kinds of information about the upcoming conference we're going to talk about. And MaryJo, when we come back after this short break,
all right,
let's talk a little bit about how groups form and how you particularly formed your group, if you don't mind.
I think that would be great, Larry.
All right, we'll see you on the other side after these important messages.
All right.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
How would you like to be able to read other people's minds? Well, the next best thing is here. When you know how to read a person's name, you know how the person thinks, feels, and behaves. Each letter in our name holds a key to unlock our true essence. Our name contains both our gifts and challenges in this lifetime. Mnemology science discovers personality secrets hidden in the placement of the letters of our names, including the first and last impression people remember about us. Sharon shows us how to interpret the arrangement of letters as outlined in her book, Know the Name, Know the Person. Sharon Lynn Wyeth created mnemology science after 18 years of research and testing her theories, and has supported thousands of people around the world in understanding themselves and others better. You'll enjoy Sharon's unique teachings as she shares her system to learn the gifts behind your given birth name. Even if you don't like your birth name, there are jewels in this book. If you're thinking of changing your name, ready to name your child, or wanting to get along better with others, this is the book for you. If you'd like to improve your relationships and change your life for the better, get the book today, Know the Name, Know the Person, or visit www.knowthename.com. That's www.knowthename.com.
Take a step back in time and discover old Florida cuisine at Marsh Landing Restaurant in Fellsmere, Florida. Enjoy delicacies such as frog legs, gator tail, catfish, and swamp cabbage, or enjoy the more traditional cuisine such as hand-cut Angus steaks, ribs, and seafood. Join us for breakfast with a southern flair featuring sweet potato pancakes, biscuits and gravy, and much more. Planning a party? Marsh Landing's private dining rooms can accommodate groups from 8 to 80 people. While you visit, enjoy the historic pictures, artifacts, and stories that line the walls. Marsh Landing is truly a unique experience. Marsh Landing Restaurant, 44 North Broadway in historic downtown Fellsmere, or visit marshlandingrestaurant.com. Marsh Landing, old Florida cuisine at its best. Welcome back to Paranormal Stakeout. I'm Larry Lawson, and I'm here tonight with MaryJo Fister, co-founder, co-lead investigator of Off the Trails Paranormal. And MaryJo, just before the last break, we were kind of starting to talk about how you got into the more formal arena of paranormal investigation and research. I'd like to ask you a little bit about starting a group. How does one get started as an investigator? How does one form a team? Talk to me a little bit about that.
Okay, sure. If somebody is interested in forming a team, I would say find somebody that you know, a friend or somebody that you work with who has the same interest. I would advise you to do some research as far as the paranormal, what you could expect, what other people have done in the field. Mm-hmm. And then start to buy some of the equipment. You don't have to go out and get a bunch of expensive equipment right away.
I agree.
But definitely you want to work with at least one other person. 2 would be better. As a safety issue, you don't want to go out wandering around by yourself. Mm-hmm. And I would think that some of the earliest equipments that you would want to, or pieces of equipment that you would want to get, would be a flashlight, a recorder, and the K2 meter is great. We still use that quite a bit. And then you can add
oldie but a goodie, right?
It is. And add to that arsenal as time goes on.
Well, one thing that I have found too, so many people watch these shows and they find that they have to go out and buy the very, very fancy equipment. But in reality, just the flashlight, digital recorder, I don't think people realize a compass can be an excellent tool to use in a paranormal investigation because of the electromagnetic fields. And a lot of folks don't realize either that the old way of getting temperature changes was a glass of water and a mercury thermometer.
That's true, yes. Very easy.
It doesn't have to be expensive. And another issue I'm having, and I'd like to get your input on this, is training. I mean, one thing that I have found, many people that get into with all the right intentions, all the right reasons, but they really don't know how to use the equipment. Do you find that yourself?
Yeah, that is true. If you don't know what you're doing with the equipment, then obviously you're not going to be able to get the most out of the investigation. So that would be one thing that I would go along with the research. If you're going to get a K2 meter, learn how to use it. If you're going to get the recorder, practice using it before you ever go out in an investigation so you know how to handle it. A camera, again, use it before you go out. But know how you're doing these things, how you're going to use the equipment before you get on an investigation, because that's not the time to learn.
And if you don't have somebody that can actually teach you that's experienced, Google it. There's lots of information out there, and certainly practice does make perfect. Wouldn't you agree?
I do agree. And yes, Googling, you can get anything on Google.
Yeah, just about.
And if you know somebody who is in a team or has been on a team, go to them and ask them, show me how to do this.
Do you find that existing teams are open to bringing in newbies, rookies, people just getting started? Or do you find that most of the time folks that are looking for the opportunity have to form their own group?
Well, I think it's both. I think you have to find the right team who's willing to bring in somebody and train them and explain techniques and procedures and how to use the equipment. Some teams don't want to do that, especially if it's been the same type group for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
We've brought in new people quite a bit. We've had people, that see the website or see the Facebook page and call and say, we'd really like to be in a team, and Greg and I will meet with them and talk with them and see if they're really sincere. And if they are, then we bring them on the team.
Do you give them any kind of a trial run, or do you take an opportunity to vet them a little bit?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. It's trial run, show them how to use some of the equipment, bring them on a few investigations and see how they're learning.
Mm-hmm.
And we hope that they're growing in their technique and their experience.
Yeah, it's kind of tough to tell somebody you got to have experience to be part of the team when you've never gotten the experience or the opportunity. So I see exactly where you're coming from. Give folks a chance after they're vetted and they show that sincere interest. I totally agree. Now, a lot of teams, my team, the Florida Bureau of Paranormal Investigation, we enjoy doing historical sites, but I noticed that you also do a lot of private homes, and we do ourselves.
That's right.
What is your take on places to investigate? What advice would you give to a new person or a person just getting involved in a team or a new team that's formed? What advice would you give them?
Well, to begin investigating, I would say go someplace that is a public site that's not going to be very expensive. And some of the places are in Florida. Some of the old jails are really good to do that. Even some of the cemeteries that will let you come in and you can start investigating there and sort of get the experience that way, get a feel for what goes into it, and realize that it's not just walking around doing the initial investigation, but there's also reviewing all that evidence, all those results afterwards.
Oh, yeah. People don't realize how much fun that is. You spend a whole night out there in an investigation. It's exciting, but afterwards, the paperwork's got to be done, just like in education and law enforcement. It's not over till the paperwork's done.
Right.
Does your group do private homes?
Yes, we do.
What is your why? Why do you enjoy doing private homes?
Well, sometimes people get really afraid because they don't realize what's going on in their house. They're hearing noises, or they're hearing voices, or they're seeing shadows. And immediately they think the worst. It's something bad. It's out to hurt them. It's out to get them. And when we go in, and of course, we first do a whole interview process before we ever go to the house. And when we do get to the house and we're able to do EVP sessions, talk to whoever's there, take pictures, walk around the house, and see what's going on. And we can usually help the person relax and realize that the ghost that is there is not there to hurt them. It's not something that's evil. It wants to be noticed, or he or she wants to be noticed, maybe has a message, but mostly they're not there to hurt somebody.
Okay. Do you find most people want you to rid them of the spirit, or they just want to confirm that something there, they really don't want the spirit to leave? What's the percentage on that?
I would say most people, once they know what's there and they're relieved that it's not bad, but they still want their home back again. And some are okay with it. Okay, if nobody wants to hurt me, then that's fine. We can share the space.
What's your advice to somebody that is just frightened and they don't want the spirit there? They don't want this entity to bother them. What's your advice to a family that's got that situation?
Well, we can do a saging before we leave, or we can come back and do it later. We can also talk to the family about how they can do it themselves, and other things that they can do to encourage more positive vibrations in the home, letting in sunlight, bringing in bright colors, keeping themselves positive and upbeat, things like that.
Does a member of your team have the ability to move a spirit on?
Well, yes, Terry does have the ability to help that person cross over, and she's done that on many occasions.
See, that's one thing that concerns me about a lot of well-meaning groups. I'm sure that there's many of them don't have any ill thought. They really think they want to help, but sometimes they don't have the knowledge or the team members with the abilities to move on spirits, and I sometimes get concerned that that can do more harm than good. Any thoughts on that?
Yes. If you're coming into the house and all you're going to say is, yes, you have a spirit here, or you have a ghost here, but you can't do anything about it, then you've helped in a certain way, but you haven't really followed through the whole way.
Mm-hmm.
So if a team has somebody who is a medium or can get a medium to work with them occasionally, I think that really helps. It helps the family because now they have their peace back again. And it helps the person who's the spirit as well, who really needs to move on to cross over and peace themselves.
Do you ever turn anybody down?
Actually, yes, we have. I mentioned the interview process that we go through, and we ask them to send pictures. And sometimes what they're telling us, just there's not enough evidence that there's actually any kind of paranormal activity going on.
Okay.
One example, we had a woman who said that she had paranormal activity, and she said that all these things were levitating in her home, the cereal boxes and the TV and the microwave. And so I asked her if she would take videos and send them to us. And she sent many, many videos of these things supposedly levitating, and nothing was happening in the videos.
But she was claiming they were happening in the videos.
Yes.
Okay, which leads me to my next question. How often do you as a team encounter individuals that ask you to come into their home, and based upon your interview, you suspect possible mental health issues or substance abuse issues? How often does that happen to you?
That happens fairly often, Larry.
Mm-hmm. Any specifics?
Well, some of the
that you can go into, that is.
Some of the interview questions do deal with using drugs, alcohol, studying the occult, holding seances, things like that. And we did have one potential client who said that she wasn't on any type of medication, but then we found out later that indeed she was taking, I believe it was Xanax, and washing it down with whiskey.
Ooh, okay. That's quite the combination.
Right. So in a case like that, she may be seeing things after that, but nothing is happening in the house, really.
Okay.
And I hate to turn people down and explain that we can't help them, but sometimes I just have to do that.
And don't you think sometimes by denying or turning folks down, you're actually helping them, perhaps even sending them in a direction where they can get the help that they need?
I hope so, Larry. I really do. I hate to think that I'm not helping them along.
I know. It's difficult. Well, listen, looks like we're about ready to go to our next break. I want to remind you of your website, www.facebook.com/Off the Trails Paranormal Investigations. And we'll be back.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
While science pursues fact, magic accesses the quantum level, bridging random facts to form truth. As long as science and magic remain separate and polarized, the truth cannot be known. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka. Join me on the Science of Magic radio program, dedicated to unification and evolution of consciousness. During each episode, I'll be speaking with experienced and respected scientists and mystics. From astrologers to astronomers, from medical doctors to shaman, the scientific method to dowsing and intuition, we'll weave together information from seemingly divergent practices to promote unity and enlightenment. Join me, Gwilda Wiyaka, and the Science of Magic right here on the Mutual Broadcast Network. For more information, visit www.thescienceofmagic.net.
Gibbs A. Williams, Ph.D., is a practicing psychoanalyst, supervisor, researcher, and author in New York City. Much of his life has been dedicated to understanding nature and the uses of meaningful coincidences or synchronicities. His radical and original non-Jungian, non-mystical, non-magical theory of synchronicities illuminates much of the fog surrounding this challenging and perplexing topic. His ideas and manners are fresh, presented in a style that is both entertaining and highly informative. He is also an expert on crisis intervention, specially focused on violence reduction for the police and citizens, mastering anxiety, frustration, and stress without the use of medication, and effectively preventing and treating heroin addiction. Dr. Williams can be contacted at his email address at gwwilliamsny11@aol.com or visit his website at Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone radio show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
True healing must address 4 levels: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual, for us to live joyful and productive lives. We tend to treat 3 of the 4, leaving the spiritual languishing. If you're tired of the same dysfunctional patterns cropping up in your life, Soul Balancing is for you. Trixie Phelps, owner and founder of Soul Balancing, is a naturally gifted energy healer trained in numerous esoteric forms, including shamanism. Trixie has created a powerful modality that safely and effectively clears your energetic field. A soul balancing session can remove interference, heal trauma, and restore your hope. Contact Trixie for a life-changing long-distance session today, www.soulbalancing.world.
Welcome back to Paranormal Stakeout. I'm Larry Lawson, your host, and we're here tonight with MaryJo Fister. MaryJo, great conversation, and I think the information that you're giving to our listeners that may be wanting to start getting involved in the research and investigations of paranormal activity, I think it's just been outstanding information, and it's truly appreciated. Truly appreciated. So tell me, in your years, did you ever get scared?
Yes. Yes, I do occasionally, but never to the point of, running out screaming. But yeah, there are times when it's a little scary. I have heard those voices tell me to die.
Yeah, it's a little unsettling.
Yeah, it's a little unsettling. And we've had a couple of, incidences, I guess, or experiences that were kind of scary. But we remember that we're, professionals, and we keep as calm as we can and carry on.
Can you give me an example of an event that particularly unnerved you a little bit? I won't say scared, because I would never do that. But go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. It was at Mansfield Reformatory in Mansfield, Ohio. And Greg and I and another team member, Dorothy, who's my sister, had just come back. We were going to go back out again and do some more investigating. And Angel asked us if we would wait a minute. She just wanted to stop in, and she'd be right with us. She wanted to go to the ladies' room. So we said, okay. And we waited and waited. I started wondering where she was, and started calling her. Angel, are you coming? Angel, you changed your mind? Didn't hear anything. Decided, well, maybe we just go ahead and go without her. Maybe she changed her mind. And all of a sudden, she was in front of my face, shaking her hands in front of my face, telling me, "You're not funny." She had been there, and we couldn't see her. Three of us could not see her. We could not hear her until suddenly she was right up.
So your daughter's in there with you. You're calling for her, and she's standing there the entire time.
Right.
Wow. I imagine that kind of freaked her out a little bit too, huh?
Yes, it did. At first, she thought we were just trying to play a joke on her, pretending like we didn't know she was there. And then she realized that, no, the three of us really didn't know she was there. And that was a little unnerving, yes.
Interesting. I know that you traveled to a lot of different historical spots that a lot of times we see on some of the shows. What is the most active of the popular spots, whether it be Mansfield, whether it be Waverly Hills? What was the most active place you've been to that's among the more popular ones?
Well, I think Rolling Hills was extremely active. That's in upstate New York.
Mm-hmm.
That was a very active place. We had quite a few EVPs there, and they have the suit that hangs in the basement, and the suit will turn to the person who is speaking to it.
And you actually experienced that?
Yes, we did.
Okay, interesting. Have you ever conducted an investigation and just flat found nothing?
Yes, we have a couple of times, actually. Just nothing happened. And that doesn't mean, as we tell the client, that there isn't anything there. It just means that the night we were there, nobody wanted to communicate and nothing was happening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I actually have a favorite saying that I use it, during my investigations or events, and it's ghost investigations, ghost hunting is like fishing. Sometimes they're biting, sometimes they're not.
That's right. Yep.
So that's kind of how I describe it at any rate. What do you tell?
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
We just say that they don't perform on cue and there is no 10 o'clock matinee.
So true. So true. And I've had that same experience myself. And have you ever had a client just completely disappointed, like they wanted something to happen so bad that to tell them it's just quiet tonight, they seem very disappointed or even angry? Yes,
they are sometimes disappointed because they were hoping that we would experience what they were telling us that they were experiencing, and it just didn't happen.
Now, you and I have been together on some investigations, and I know what kind of equipment you have.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me, what is your favorite piece of equipment that you use on investigations?
Well, I really like the K2,
Mm-hmm.
and I also like the Spirit Box. And I know there's a lot of controversy about that, but I find that I get a lot of very reliable EVPs from them.
I got to admit, the Spirit Box, the science of it wasn't really doing it for me at first. But there's a situation that occurred in Fellsmere where they were using Steve Huff's portal, which is similar to a ghost box. You familiar with the portal? And I became a believer, and this is just about a month and a half ago, where the Spirit Box literally, we were asking questions, and the questions were coming out right. They were naming people in the room, and I thought, okay, maybe it's for real. So I decided to ask the Spirit Box, where are we at? Now, Fellsmere is a great place, but it doesn't roll off the tongue. It is, but it doesn't roll off the tongue like a Miami or Orlando.
Correct.
But the Spirit Box twice, when I asked where we were, said Fellsmere. Became a bit more of a believer that day. So I had some problems with the Spirit Box, but I'm coming around. What else do you like to use?
The flashlight as well, and we've used that a couple of times on investigations.
Mm-hmm.
And I also, go on.
No, I was going to ask you about the Connect.
Yeah, definitely love the Connect. That was coming up for sure. That is just a great piece of equipment. It uses a grid system to connect the dots and gives us a stick figure of what we are not seeing with our naked eyes. And we've gotten some really interesting movements. As you know, with Evan, we got some really interesting activity in Sebastian in the attic of the store.
Yep. Evan's my son, by the way, folks. He was with us on an investigation. Yeah, that was interesting that night.
And another time we were doing an investigation of a private home, and it was in what had been a junkyard for automobiles and trucks and things. Mm-hmm. And most of the cars were gone, but there was a young man there who had come with a car, ghost young man, spirit young man. And we picked him up on the Connect, and he was dancing for us, like 70s disco music.
Interesting.
Yes, it was really very interesting. We had Terry with us on that one, and she was telling us about the 1970s car, and we were watching him on the Connect, and he was like John Travolta.
That's interesting. Well, once again, the Connect was one of those pieces of equipment I was a little skeptical about until I saw the one that you did with my son that time when we were at the Beyond Useless Boutique in Sebastian, Florida. Right. So that was intriguing. So tell me, do you ever have spirits follow you home after an investigation?
Yes, Larry, I have had them come home with me.
How does Greg feel about that? No, just
Greg doesn't like it.
What do you do to kind of to avoid that situation as best as possible?
Well, I think one of the reasons that they come home with me is because I'm an empath, and they feel that I can help. But I will tell them that they can't stay in the house with me, and I will sage the house. I will follow the advice that I give our clients, make sure that the windows are bringing in sunlight. I'll open the door to bring in the breeze. Whatever I need to do, because sometimes when they come home with me, they will make me sick, and I can't have that.
Well, that brings me to the next question then. Have you ever encountered or been affected by some sort of non-human spirit, a demon, if you will?
I don't believe so. We encountered maybe one possible demon in all the investigations that we've done. And he did not come home with us.
Very, very good. How many investigations do you think you've done total in your 8 years as a team?
I would say probably over 200.
And you don't just stay in Florida, do you?
No, we've investigated in Louisiana and Ohio and Georgia, Pennsylvania, Virginia, all over the southeastern United States.
What's your favorite state?
Well, I grew up in Ohio, so I love Ohio.
Mansfield Reformatory is quite the place. No doubt about that.
Yeah, the whole city of Mansfield is very active. But I do love St. Augustine, too.
Yeah, St. Augustine is probably the first place, if I can say I cut my teeth in the field, you might say, is in St. Augustine. Do you ever regret, how to put this, have you ever regretted doing an investigation?
Well, no, I don't think so. I don't think so because I think in the private homes, I think we've helped. And in the more public places like Mansfield Reformatory and Waverly Hills, it gives us so much more research and gives us more experience and more knowledge about what's going on that other side.
When you do your investigations, and we're getting a little close to the break, but I do want to ask you this. What do you do with your evidence?
Well, we share with the client if it's in a private investigation, of course. And we also put it up on our website if the client agrees to that. If it's a public place, we share it with the public on our website.
Do you have any type of database or place where you collect it for maybe future reference?
Oh, yes, we have files here.
Okay.
We have files so we can use it at any time.
Have you ever had another team approach you, say, hey, I heard you did the Boston House in Fort Pierce. Can you tell me what you found? Have you ever had groups reach out to you in that way?
Oh, quite often, yes. The more public places, people have asked us about Waverly Hills, St. Augustine Lighthouse, the Hamilton County Jail, lots of places like that.
Do you have any thoughts or opinion on a general repository of information that teams that are perhaps part of an organization or association could access to find information about?
That would be awesome.
Yeah, I agree. That would be
absolutely wonderful.
I agree with you. Well, we're getting real close to our next break, so I do want to mention your website again, www.facebook.com/Off the Trails Paranormal Investigations. I want to encourage all of my listeners to go to that website and visit this group. They're a tremendous team, and especially if you're in the South Florida area, a great source. So we're going to go ahead and go to our last break here. We got some important messages, and we will see you on the other side.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
I am Dr. Carl O'Helvey, founder, president of a new cancer foundation focusing on evidence-based physical, mental, and spiritual interventions, including natural cancer cures, prayer, meditation, affirmations, nutrition, and other related holistic cancer prevention and cure modalities. These are used in cancer education, research, and financing care. I ask for your help to continue this important work by donating at www.holisticcancerfoundation.com.
Wouldn't you love to know the secret to everything? I'm Dr. Kimberly McGeorge, and on The Secret to Everything, we will merge the practical with open investigation into all realms of the mysterious. We will talk to cutting-edge alternative health practitioners, those who inspire and motivate you in business and life, and of course, we will share stories of the paranormal, conspiracy, and cryptozoology. You will transform because of the frequency I carry, the frequencies my guests carry. Life may never be the same after you listen to this program, for the secret to everything is for you, the listener, for those who desire more in every area of their lives and believe that it can still be found. Listen and discover thesecrettoeverything.com.
Little children aren't the only ones afraid of the dark. Millions of soldiers return from war zones with PTSD, anger, frustration, fear, and loneliness, much of which surfaces during the darkness of the night. You have the chance to change the lives of these American heroes. Songs and Stories for Soldiers.us provides free MP3 players for these men and women. With a list of 3 million songs in 16 different styles, 100,000 audiobooks, and 30,000 old-time radio programs, every veteran can find something to soothe and comfort them at no cost. All our players contain an 8-hour audio program designed to help veterans fall asleep. With 1,500 plus vets now participating, it's our goal to deliver 10,000 audio players this year. Go to our website at songsandstoriesforsoldiers.us. Help us help a veteran make it through the night.
You're listening to the X-Zone Broadcast Network, www.xzbn.net.
Hi, this is Larry Lawson, host of Paranormal Stakeout, here on the X-Zone Broadcast Network. I would like to invite all of our listeners to the second annual Para-Unity Conference, January 27th through the 29th in Fellsmere, Florida. We have some exciting speakers, including Brian Cano from The Haunted Collector, author Andrea Perrin, whose book inspired the hit movie The Conjuring, and our own Rob McConnell. There are events for the public as well as opportunities for paranormal teams to come together to share information. We also have opportunities for our guests to participate in some investigations of Fellsmere's most haunted locations. Check out my website at www.paranormalstakeout.com or www.paranormalfbi.com for times and details. Hope to see you there. Welcome back to Paranormal Stakeout with our guest tonight, MaryJo Fister of Off the Trails Paranormal Investigations of Port St. Lucie, Florida. Once again, their website is www.facebook.com/offthetrailsparanormalinvestigations/. Please also do not forget to tune into our other outstanding programs on the X-Zone Broadcast Network. Visit us on www.xzbn.net for program schedules. I'd also like to invite all of you to visit me at www.paranormalstakeout.com or www.paranormalfbi.com and visit us on Facebook at Florida Bureau of Paranormal Investigations. MaryJo, welcome back for our last segment. Been having a great time tonight.
I have too.
Let's talk about a topic that's near and dear to both of us and Greg, and it's called para-unity.
Yes.
What is your definition of para-unity?
Well, when I think of para-unity, I think of all of us striving for some of the same goals, sharing information, sharing techniques, sharing ideas, sharing places that we have found to be active.
I agree, because there seemed to have been a situation that has occurred over the years where people tend to get very territorial. And it really, we had that problem in law enforcement for a long time. Agencies wouldn't share information because they didn't want to share what they had found. And all it did was hamper investigations nationwide, worldwide. And I saw that happening in the paranormal field. And this concept of para-unity, I think, is the answer to the question. Would you agree?
I do agree. In many other fields, people share their research findings, medical field, the education field. And I think it can do nothing but help advance to
bring credibility to the field and what we're doing. I totally agree. We've got an event coming up the end of January. It's just around the corner. You heard the promo for it a couple minutes ago.
It was great.
Thank you. Tell the audience a little bit about the Para-Unity Conference.
We're so excited about this. It's an opportunity for the public as well as paranormal groups to get together and share stories, share ideas, opinions. We're going to have some great speakers there. As you mentioned, Brian Cano from The Haunted Collector, which is on Sci-Fi, is going to be there. We're having Andrea. She was there last year. She's just a wonderful speaker and a very warm person. Doug Dillon is going to be there to speak. And Doug is a Florida author. He writes about the paranormal. He has a nonfiction book that he has out. And he also writes young adult fiction. We're going to have Terry Reed, who is a psychic medium via Skype. We're having Sean Porter there, who's going to talk about equipment in the field today. And Sean runs Ghost Stop store. Dr. Mekas is going to be there. Dr. Mekas is a psychology professor, parapsychology professor.
Okay.
And Rich Valdez, who's a demonologist, and Rich was there last year. Rob Robertson is going to talk about cryptids, and he's got a book out called Legend Trippers.
Yeah, we're going to have him on the show, too.
Yeah, and Rob, of course, is going to be there.
Rob McConnell, our own Rob McConnell will be there. I'm excited about that.
Bob Senker, who's very respected in the field, is going to lead a panel discussion. Have I missed somebody?
Oh, it sounds like you got everybody. It's gonna be a heck of a lineup, too.
It's going to be wonderful.
But the whole idea is to bring teams as well as interested members of the public together to learn more about the field, to share information.
Absolutely. And if there's people who are interested in starting a group or joining a group, this is a perfect opportunity for them.
Oh, absolutely.
They can get together with some of us in the field, and we can help them get started. Or if they just want to join a group, one of us can find a group for them.
Let me ask you this question, too. I had mentioned something about training, training folks on equipment earlier. Do you have any thoughts or opinions on creating a training program for hopeful new investigators in the field? Do you got any thoughts on that?
I think that would be a very good idea, especially if they're trying to start their own group, their own team, because it's important to be able to use the equipment correctly so that you get your optimum opportunity when you're going into a site, whether it's a private home, whether it's an old jail, whether it's a cemetery. it's just so important to be able to use the equipment correctly, just as in any field.
Absolutely, because the more you use it, the more you're going to get better. So I'd like to encourage anybody that's interested, come on out and join us. It's in Fellsmere, Florida, which is just below Cape Canaveral and above West Palm Beach. So if you're listening and you can join us, we'd love to have you. Just check our websites, and it has the information. What other projects do you think you're going to be working on in the future, MaryJo?
Well, obviously, we're hoping that we're going to have another conference next year. So we'll be working on that over the next year. We're also interested in doing some work with haunted hotels and bed and breakfast and seeing if we can come up with perhaps a correlation between who stays there, why they're staying there after so many years have passed. We'd like to maybe even do a documentary on something like that.
What got your interest in bed and breakfast hotels? What caused that interest? That's interesting.
There just seems to be so many of them, and we have stayed in some and had some really interesting experiences there. And there was one that we have stayed at several times. It's called Buxton Inn in Ohio. It's a little town in Granville.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
I was able to communicate with the woman who ran it for many, many years, and she's been passed away for many years, but we did manage to have a conversation.
Interesting. Yeah, I've had family members stay at the Buxton Inn. I don't know if you remember hearing that story or not.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, it was where my mom used to live, and she actually spent the night at the Buxton. And that's a place I'd like to try and visit myself sometime. So that's interesting. Bed and breakfast and hotels. Does that include restaurants too?
Sure. And pubs, anything like that? Absolutely.
Are you looking? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
What attracts spirits to those particular establishments?
Now, are these types of institutions ones that have some sort of historical meaning, or could it be any establishment like that? What are you looking for?
Well, as you know, Larry, it doesn't have to be old to have ghosts
True.
or spirits. The land is old. So it doesn't have to be a hotel that's 150 years old. It could be something that was just built last year.
Mm-hmm. But I do got to ask you about one hotel, one you're familiar with, the Kenilworth in Sebring, Florida.
Yes.
Did you ever have any experiences there?
We did investigate and had some interesting results. And the room that Greg and I stayed in the last time that we were there, yes, there was a young lady there in the room with us.
Mm-hmm. Well, I seem to recall one time, and I believe you guys were with me for this, we actually spoke to a young man that supposedly died in a car wreck.
Yes, we did.
In front of the Kenilworth. So as you're talking about hotels and things, it really comes to mind. I had the opportunity to do some work at the Gulfstream Hotel in Lake Worth, Florida, not too long ago, and the stories that came out of that institution, of course, it's now being renovated, really amazing. And I just can't help but think it's the emotion that's trapped in the building. That keeps a lot of the spirits there. Your thoughts?
I would agree with you. There is that definitely an emotional tie or an emotional draw. And also with places like hotels and restaurants and pubs, there's a lot of people coming in and out. And sometimes people have attachments. And sometimes people come in with a lot of emotion. And spirits can attach from one person to another, and I think that could be part of it as well.
Interesting. Yeah, I as I'm sitting here listening to what you're saying, yeah, hotels, it makes total sense. I'd really like to spend some time, maybe at the conference we can talk about that a little bit too, and that might be a great topic of discussion at maybe one of the panel discussions, you think?
I think that'd be great.
Good. Well, as much as I hate to say it, MaryJo, we're getting close towards the end of the time. I just really wanted to
Larry,
thank you.
Don't say it.
Oh, I know, it's terrible, but But the show must go on. There are other shows that must be out there that must go on after us. But I just want to let you know it's been a terrific time tonight. I truly appreciate all the conversation, and I'm looking forward to seeing you at the end of the month. And once again, want to invite everybody to the Para-Unity Conference in Fellsmere, Florida, the 27th through the 29th of January. Hope you can make it. It's going to be a great time. And with that, we'll be signing off tonight. MaryJo, thank you for joining us.